Hello everybody, today I'm going to be going over how to fix a leaking gutter. Apart from being very annoying if you've got one of these on your property, it can also cause damage to the brickwork and the foundations, so it's important to get it fixed if you do have one. First of all, I'll just show you what a gutter union looks like. So this is the bog standard gutter union, PVC gutter union that we have in the UK. It comes in 5 different parts. The main unit, you have 2 rubber seals and 2 clips. They do come in different shapes and sizes, but for this video we're just going to be using a half round one. And this is what a gutter union looks like when it's connected to the guttering and fitted in place. I've fixed probably hundreds of these over the years, so I have come across some main reasons why they tend to leak, and I'm going to go over these with you now before I go into how to fix it. In my experience, the most common reason for a gutter leak is a failure on the part of the fitter. It was not screwed into the fascia board at the back of the union. You'll notice at the back of the part there is a small hole. That's basically for fixing a screw in place. If that isn't done, it can later cause problems with expansion and contraction. The second most common cause of a gutter leak is that the gutter was not cut to the correct length, so the overlaps into the joint itself are not sufficient to be held in place, and then with movement over time it's going to come apart and a leak will start. And as a double whammy, if it's not fitted to the correct length and it's not screwed into the fascia board, you've got a guaranteed leak in not too very long down the line. This particular photo shows it cut to the correct length, so this is actually a correct example. Most gutter unions do have a line showing you where the gutter should be cut to. This particular one has a little line and it says insert gutter to here, so there's no excuses really for getting it wrong, but people do. If either of those two fitter errors are made, then basically at some point down the line, could be months, could be years later, because of expansion and contraction, movement, strong winds perhaps, whatever it is, the joint's going to move, the seal's going to come apart, and you're going to have a leak. And you'll end up with something looking like these two examples. It can even come apart completely. So you could see a gap in the guttering. So quickly, the third most common reason for a gutter leak is that the joint itself is broken. Maybe one of the clips is broken, snapped, so it's not holding the gutter down against the rubber seal and therefore it's leaking. So in that case, obviously you're going to need a new joint, you're going to have to replace it. Fourth most common is probably it's just old ancient guttering and the whole lot needs replacing. But here we're going to go over how to repair a leaking joint that is salvageable. The first thing you need to do is remove the joint. I have found it useful to put a hammer or a tool on top of the fascia board between the first course of roof tiles, which gives you an extra inch or so to get the joint out. That's also helpful for when screwing it back into the fascia, because the tiles can get in the way. So you want to get the thing out basically. You might want to unclip some of the gutter brackets to help you get it out. And it's just a case of cleaning it up basically, so give it a bit of a wipe with an old dirty rag. Wipe the seals themselves, remove them, clean it all down, get it as dry as you can if it's wet. Then we're going to need to seal it up with some silicone adhesive. These are some examples of ones I use a fair amount. There's the CT1, which is pretty strong, it's quite expensive. Fixall's a bit cheaper and Duraplus is a bit cheaper, but they're both pretty good as well. And also all of these three can be used even if the gutter joint is a little bit wet, which is a good bonus. You're going to want to put a bead of silicone along the inside of the rubber seal that is already in place on both sides. You want to make sure that the underside of the gutter is pretty clean as well and dry. Get rid of any muck inside the guttering that might fall into the joint when you're trying to fit it. You don't want it kind of getting covered in water or dirt when you're trying to put it back in place. You want to make sure that the gap between the guttering that you're going to be fitting it to matches up with the lines of where the guttering is meant to be. That's important to make sure it's not going to leak again. Then you basically need to fit the joint back in place. So you might have to unclip some of the gutter brackets. As you can see here, the one just to the left is unclipped, which makes it easier to get the union in. Once it's in place, clip everything back in place. Ideally you want to see a small bead of the silicone bleeding out of the edge of the guttering, so you know you've got a good seal. Once you've done that, you just need to put a screw through into the fascia, so you know the joint then is not going to move and come apart from the gutter. And that's basically how I repair a leaking gutter. I found it very successful myself, so I thought I would share it with you. The only other thing I should say really is that when you're screwing the union back into the fascia board, make sure that the gutter is at the correct alignment with either side, the brackets either side. Assuming it's all been fitted correctly, there should be a slight slope towards the outlet where the water can escape down the downpipe down the wall. Make sure it's aligned properly, that the joint isn't too low or too high as to restrict the flow of water. Thank you very much for watching. Please do subscribe and like the video. Comment if you would like to see videos explaining anything else regarding roofs or gutters, and I will try and assist you with that. Job's a good one.